Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto's Kirk and Spock are Lennon and McCartney, say Star Trek writer. The friendship between Captain James T. Kirk, Chris Pine, and Mr. Spock, Zachary Quinto, in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek 2009 was modeled after the Beatles' John Lennon and Paul McCartney, according to co-writer Roberto Orci. Pine and Quinto, along with the cast of Star Trek 2009, proved that younger actors could embody the iconic characters originally played by William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, and the cast of Star Trek, the original series. Pine's Kirk and Quinto's Spock ran the gamut, starting off as rivals and coming to blows, before teaming up to save Earth and blazing an unbreakable star-crossed friendship. To reconceive Captain Kirk and Spock for Star Trek 2009, co-writers Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman drew inspiration from the Beatles. In Star Trek 2009, as alternate Kelvin timeline, Kirk and Spock experience personal tragedies that William Shatner's Kirk and Leonard Nimoy's Spock did not. And this was the key to their bond, just as a similar upbringing brought Paul McCartney and John Lennon together to form the most beloved rock band of all time. Orci explains Kirk and Spock's Lennon and McCartney connection in the Star Trek oral history, The 50-Year Mission, The Next 25 Years, by Mark A. Altman and Edward Gross. Read Orci's quote below. We looked at John Lennon and Paul McCartney's friendship as part of our model for Kirk and Spock when we were writing. They were opposites, and they bonded very young because they both lost their mothers when they were teens. They might not have actually gotten along at the time had it not been for that kind of a bond. They were the only ones who understood each other's pain, so they were definitely an influence on our view of Kirk and Spock. You know, Star Trek and the Beatles were products of the 60s, so sometimes you have to tie it all together. By the way, Spock is Lennon, because Paul is the optimist who can see through the pain and still keep his chin up. That's Kirk. Spock is a little more fatalistic with his logic, as John Lennon was. Captain James T. Kirk and Spock had different life experiences in the alternate reality of J.J. Abrams' Star Trek that were more dramatic and tragic than Kirk and Spock's lives in Star Trek's Prime Universe. Abrams' Kelvin timeline, Kirk's birth was tied to the death of his father, Lieutenant George Kirk. Chris Hemsworth,